What's up guys, it's Renell, welcome to the video, and in this video one of my subscribers Joey sent me a sample and I'm gonna flip it into a beat. Let's get into it. So this is the sample right here. Joey told me it was 160 BPM and let's have a listen. Alright, so that was the sample, and Joey also gave me the MIDI of the bells, and let's flip into a beat. So the first thing I'm going to do is identify what key this is in. To identify the key, we're going to be talking in steps and semitones. So one whole step is equal to 2 semitones, and a half step is 1 semitone. For example, an F to an F sharp would be 1 semitone or a half step, but an F to a G would be 2 semitones but a whole step. So to identify our key, we're going to need to know what steps are associated with what key. For a major chord progression, the steps are whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, which I kind of make a rhythm to help me remember that. And so we can look at the C major scale, which is all of the white notes right here. And so basically we can see it go C, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And for a minor chord progression, the steps are whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. So right here we start on the F sharp and we go one whole step up to a G sharp and then half to an A. So we have whole, half. And just off the bat we can see that this is a minor chord progression because it goes whole, half, and we know that a major chord progression goes whole, whole. So we can assume it's an F sharp minor, but let's check all of the notes just to make sure it's all in the same key. So right now I'm just matching up all of the notes I see in the melody and kind of bringing them all together. So I have all of the notes laid out, and it goes whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. So since it follows this step pattern, we know it's going to be an F sharp minor, so that is our key. Feel free to let me know if you misunderstood anything and put in the comments below if you need me to explain it better. So the first thing I want to do with this sample is speed it up. To speed it up, I'm just going to make note of where the sample at its original tempo ends, which is at bar 33. And then now I'm just going to move it up, the tempo up to 180. And then double click on this and make sure it's on stretch. And move the time knob so that it lines up with 33. You usually have to move it back. Like that. So now it is sped up. So the next thing I want to do is find a different pitch. So in the second part of the melody, I hear a little problem. So in the sample, you have the beat changing the chord on the 3, right? Right there. But you have a pad in the background, and the chord of that changes around second beat of bar 10. So basically, you don't want to do this, especially if you're adding just like a layer in the back. You want to keep the chord progression basically in sync with the rest of your melodies. So it would be better to have your pad go ba, ba. But it's totally okay. I'm just not going to use this part of the sample. However, in the third part of the sample, you did bring it back and you added an instrument that follows the chord progression. And so we can just listen to this and we can see that the chord of this ambient guitar he puts changes with the bells. And I'm definitely going to be using that part of the sample. Alright, so for this sample I added on 2 EQs because sometimes I think the FL EQ isn't strong enough, just cutting out the low end. And so we added a reverb as well, a stereo enhancer. As some of you guys may remember, in my Logic Pro X videos I used a plugin called Wider, and this is basically the same thing. I just turned the stereo spread up. And the last thing I added, which kind of changed the sound the most, was a flanger, and I used the Chorusy preset, and this is what it sounds like now. Alright, so in order to make our own pattern while listening to the sample, we're just going to bring everything into the song. And in order to hear our pattern, we just add the pattern into the track just by clicking. Now we're going to beef up the sample by adding other sounds and maybe a counter melody. Okay, so when we hover over the pitch knob, we can see in the top left corner that the pitch shift is at -300 cents, which is -3 semitones, which is -3 half steps. And so because we identified earlier that our key was F sharp minor, the key just moves down. So from F sharp, we go to an F. So that's 1, 2, 3. And now our key is D sharp minor. So we can just select everything by holding Control and shifting it down 1, 2, 3. And so now all of these notes are in the same key as the sample. Okay, so the plugin I'm going to be using today is Expand, which you can get on Plugin Boutique for $5. This is not sponsored. I thought it was a really good deal. Shout out to Joey. He actually told me about this. But when you buy Expand 2, which is usually a $70 plugin, you actually get a choice of a mastering, mixing, or vocal plugin from iZotope. So the options are Ozone 9, Neutron 3, and Nectar 3, I'm pretty sure. I chose Ozone 9 because I felt I needed a maximizer that could do everything I needed to just in one plugin. But yeah, go check out Plugin Boutique. This isn't sponsored. I just think it's a really good deal. The first instrument I want to add is a piano, and I'm just going to add all of the chords under the melody so that the piano can sound thicker. If your notes aren't placing on the grid, like you feel like it could be just a little bit off, make sure you press this magnet here and go to step so that it kind of stops it at those lines. I think this chord progression sounds really nice with the melody, and it's just a D sharp minor to an F sharp major, down to a B major, and up to a C sharp major. So it sounds like this. And I'm just going to turn down the volume of the melody just because I feel like it's a little too loud. I'm just going to increase the volume of all of these by holding Control to select and just bringing everything up. Okay, I'm going to change that piano sound to maybe the natural. Okay, I really like this sound, so I'm just going to use that. So I'm just going to fill the bottom notes with the corresponding notes of the chord, which is a D sharp minor, so D sharp, up to an F, and then B, up to a C sharp. Now I'm going to move up the melody notes just an octave up by holding Control and doing the up arrow. And so now I think it'll sound a lot better. Because I think the melody should be a little bit louder, I'm just going to control all of these notes and control their velocity maybe down to right there. So just dragging and moving it. For the piano, the effects that I added were just an EQ, which is cutting out the lows and raising the highs, a reverb, and a stereo enhancer. And this is what our pattern sounds like now. Okay, so just because I'm curious, I'm going to load up the same piano on Expand into this pattern and add halftime onto the pattern. Okay, I actually really like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna go into this pattern. So I will Control A and then Control Up to make everything one higher. And let's hear how this sounds. And I'm just gonna add the same effects I did on the first piano. So with the sample in both of our pianos, this is what it sounds like. all I'm gonna do with this melody is try to find a counter melody if I can, and then I'll add some drums. Okay, so I'm looking through the Cymatics Euphoria vocal sample pack. I came across this vocal sample that is in D sharp minor, and I think it could sound really good with the beat.
Oh, oh,
And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it into the playlist.
oh, oh.
I'm going to chop up the parts I want and link it up with the song. So I think the timing's just a little bit off on this, so I'm just going to make it stretch and stretch the time back just a little bit. To make this sound a little more unique, I'm just going to pitch it up an octave, or 1200 cents, or 12 semitones. And so this is what it sounds like. It's definitely gonna need a lot of processing, but I think this sounds fire. So this is the final arrangement of the beat along with my tag, and this is the beat I made with Joey's sample.
It's Renell,
Alright, so that was the beat. It would mean a lot to me if you guys like, subscribed, and comment what you guys thought of this beat and also my process of making it. Also, shout out to Joey for sending me this sample and helping me make this fire beat, and I'll see you guys in the next video.